And so I'll turn it over to Amanda. So what do you feel like you bring to the table that in your industry that's different than your predecessors or different than men, that gives a different perspective, as a woman and as a Black woman, that's helped your company excel?
My strength and my determination. And I'm just a go-getter because I look at all the white people around me. And I was in a position where Erica was in, one of my drivers. He says, no, I don't want to talk to the secretary. I want to talk to the boss. And I just said, I'm not going to even say what I said, but I just said, well, you are talking to one of the bosses. My husband is the other boss. And he really, really just looked at me and he said, well, Stan told me to talk to you. And I don't take orders from women, let alone Black women. I do not take orders from women at all. So I said, really? Were you going to take orders from this woman, or you know where to go? So he knew where to go. He just parked the truck, parked the truck.
Oh my.
That was it. That was it with him. So he didn't even come to pick up his last check. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Janelle, you've seen this for many years. How do you deal with this and navigate through those waters? Because obviously, right, we don't want to lose customers, right? Obviously, we know that the pink elephant, I know it's cliche, but in the room. So how do you deal with it as a woman, as a leader, as a business owner in your spectrum? And what would you share with the audience out there as people begin to negotiate and climb into these jobs? How do you deal with it?
It's very unfortunate. I've experienced everything that the ladies on this panel have said today. So, and my whole thing is, it's been 24 years for me. It can still happen. My general manager, who just retired, he is a white male. He has three grown daughters, a wife, and we were at one of our manufacturer meetings, and this was probably right before COVID, maybe end of 19. And so we're very close. Our families are close. He's been a part of our organization for 20 years. So he was standing talking to another dealer. I was talking to someone else, and they were like, well, how long have you guys been married? And he's just thinking that this gentleman's talking about his real wife.
Wow.
And I had to explain to him, I said, hey, he's talking about you and I. And he was like, what? He was like, I really wish everyone would understand that it is you. And so I let him take that battle, which is nice to have someone who will. And I went on and finished my conversation. The real interesting part is when my husband's with me, then they real confused because they're like, well, I thought that was the husband and that, who is that? And to your point, Erica, they always go to my husband or to my general manager and they're like, no, I'm with her. And then they get beat red. And then it's always like, the next time I see him, they're like, hey, Janelle. And I'm like, hey, who are you? I don't know who you are. So I guess for me, I learned a long time ago that there's going to be haters. There's going to be people that don't want you to succeed. White, brown, green, purple. As long as you can find a few that are in your corner that you can really trust and know that they're definitely on your team, it helps. And I go back to, and something Erica said, it's education. They need to understand that I don't have to look like them to do what they do. And it took another white male dealer. We were at a meeting several years ago and he said, hey, let's go to dinner. He said, when our spouses are there with us, we all hang out, we're golfers, we have a lot of fun, but it was just him and I. And so another dealer approached him and said, well, hey man, we're getting ready to go to dinner. And he's like, well, you can go with us. And he was like, why would you go to dinner with her? And he was like, well, she sells more cars than you. She makes more money than you. And she looks better than you. And I can talk to you anytime. And I was like, I guess I don't need to take that battle either. And, you know, it's education, but it's also, you can't waste your time on people that don't want to open their mind. But I do feel there is an education. And I do feel that even after 24 years of being in this role, I still need to wear a sign when I walk into the room for a meeting that I'm not with the manufacturer. And Brian, there's nothing wrong with being with the manufacturer. And I don't work for the travel company that set up the meeting. I don't know where the restrooms are. I don't know what time we start or what we're finished or any of that. I'm here just like you. So.
That's absolutely incredible. And actually, I was going to go to Brian because obviously you hear of this a lot with women who are in leadership throughout Nissan. What are some of the things that you offer, I guess, in advice or you share with people that are in leadership that helps this particular situation in order to move it forward?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely can see a lot of the struggles that, I have, as a individual of color, but, then you pile the women aspect on top of it and what the expectations are, within the four walls and outside the four walls of, when I look at my wife and the things that she's able to accomplish every day. And I look at the things that I think are so hard and have to pile hers on top of it. I truly am just amazed at what gets done and how it gets done and the grace that it gets done. But, the biggest thing that I try and do is make sure that, we don't lose our knowledge and we transfer it, to someone who can use it. Those lessons that we've learned along the way, they don't get old. Unfortunately, they haven't changed fast enough. So some of those same instances and circumstances that we've run into are going to happen tomorrow. They're going to happen in the next month. So equipping them to probably do it better than I did when I was faced with that same issue or opportunity and really talk through it. And really, instead of me coming out at a 6 out of 10 from that situation, hopefully you can come out at an 8 out of 10, right? No one's going to be perfect, but you're going to grow it and the progression will happen. But, it is very difficult because I think that a lot of the women I see of color in automotive are extremely high or extremely low, but there's not a lot in that middle tier that are still accessible. And when you get to some type of level, right, it feels like I can't call her because she's a vice president. She's just way beyond. But, you feel a little bit more comfortable reaching out to a manager or a senior manager or maybe someone who is a little bit more at your level. And then I also think that, I would love to see more of the industry and really the whole landscape proactively pursuing women of color because I just don't feel like it's an opportunity that they even consider. My wife still doesn't know what I do. And, I come home to her every day. So really explaining that, you can be something more in automotive than an engineer because that's where you'll find a lot of, women of color. But there's a lot of places they can succeed. It's not going to be easy, but, I don't think any other industry is just going to be a cakewalk either. But, I do think that the opportunities are there.
Very good.
So do you want to do this now or you want to go through that?
For me to go that extra mile to actually listen
customers I can't help. There's some customers that I can't teach. And